men struggle with their body image. There's more and more research that looks into it. There's more surveys that confirm this, that just as women for decades have been reduced to their bodies, the same is happening now more and more to men. And we need to talk about it, why it's happening, how exercise plays a big role in it, and how movies play a big role in it. So yeah, that's what I'll be talking about in this episode of the MenTell Health Podcast. Hi, I'm Tim, and I welcome you on my journey to talk about men's mental health. Before we begin, a brief disclaimer. I am in no shape or form a mental health professional. I'm just a man who's been struggling with his mental health and has found that talking about it is a good way to start. So let's do it together and talk about men's mental health. If you've listened to, or if you're new to watched the previous episode, then you know that this is part 2 of 2. If you haven't, then you don't need to listen to it before you can listen to this, but it's definitely worth it listening to it anyways, because in the last episode I talked about the benefits of exercise in regards to our mental health and how it can help. And now in part 2 of the series, if you want to call it that, I'll be talking more about the negative side of exercise, especially when it comes to men. There is many people that are right now going crazy in the gym, that are giving their absolute best and train as hard as they possibly can in order to look a very specific way. And before we go into the look side of it, one important aspect to talk about when we discuss training and exercise is beneficial and healthy and good for you, but up to a point. And once you cross a certain point, it no longer is very helpful and beneficial. Because if you overtrain, if you train so hard and so intensely and also so often that your body has not enough time to recuperate and to regain energy, to heal, because when you train, especially if you do strength training in order to get more muscles, in order for those muscles to grow, you tear the muscle, the strings of muscles, and then where it's torn, it heals, and then where it becomes bigger. But if you train more often and more often, then you tear those muscles again and again and again, and they don't have time to actually grow back together. But more than that, training too much can negate all the positive effects that training can have on your body and on your mental health. It can lead to depression and anxiety. It can lead to a worse immune system, so that you actually become ill easier, quicker, and more severely. It can take away the energy, so you have a lot severe fatigue, low energy symptom, where you just can't do the things that you want to do, that you need the energy for, that you wanted to regain by training in the first place. It can stop you from becoming better, from reaching any exercise goals that you've set yourself. It can take away a lot of the time in your life that may be beneficial if you'd use this for socializing, for regaining energy, for doing something creative, or for just doing nothing, for just relaxing. But because you're so focused on the exercise, on becoming better, on looking a certain way, you don't do that, and you don't take the time for that. And so by exercising too much, you're not actually doing anything good for you or your body. And it's becoming an increasing problem where people of all groups, but very heavily young men and also more and more older men, and when I say older, I mean over 30, so I'm already old as well, where they train so much, they spend so much time in the gym or at home working out, exercising, be it running, be it swimming, be it cycling, be it pumping iron, strength training to become stronger. And yes, in order to look a very, very certain way. Now, what are they trying to look at? Well, maybe recently you've seen certain films that have dominated the box office, have dominated the box office, be it any of the Marvel films where you in almost every single one of them see at least one person, either with one man especially, either without a top on, be it Captain America, be it Thor, be it Iron Man, be it Guardians of the Galaxy, be it Spider-Man, or Wolverine, or any of the other ones in the X-Men, or be it ads where you see these highly chiseled bodies advertising underwear or other clothes, or big singers, pop stars, rock stars who are just very, very heavily who just look a very certain way, which is either very, very muscly or very, very lean, and not much in between. And those films, those posters, music videos, images on social media, not to mention those reality TV shows where lots of very, very attractive people are put in an enclosed space and then have to either fall in love with each other or cheat on each other, or whichever it is. They're quite different, but all a very similar premise. And most of the people that are on the shows, the women and the men, are very, very common attractive, as in like they fit the criteria that we, the society, established as the highest form of attractiveness. Lots of muscles on the men, very little body, lots of muscles on the men, tall, chiseled, six-pack, big pecs, big arms, big legs, but not too big, and on the women, big legs, but muscly legs, and no stomach or any normal feminine, very big rounds, but usually thin and small. And yes, it leads us into this idea that that's what we're supposed to look like, and that's the only way we can be attractive. And there have been surveys, there have been questionnaires asked all around the Western world, asking young men how they feel about their body. And 30% of men asked have admitted to, at some point in their life, felt insecure about their body. And just like we've for decades have brought a lot of pressure on women, and because we've reduced them to how they look, we're now doing the same to men and putting pressure on people to look a very specific way, because otherwise they're not attractive and they won't be loved, they won't be seen as valuable in our society. And it goes so far that if you go on dating apps, or if you go into the dating world, or even in the job world, people that are considered as attractive, and we as a society decide what's attractive. There's not like there's a biological aspect to what we have to find attractive. Just go back in time and look at different periods in history and what was considered attractive then. And it looks very different to what we now consider to be attractive. And it's a lot of pressure on people. And those Hollywood films have actually led to a mental health disorder that's called bulkorexia. So where there's anorexia, where you, which is an eating disorder, bulkorexia is a disorder where you spend so much time and energy and fixation on being as muscular as possible, and you compare yourself so regularly with other people who are bigger than you that you lose contact and touch with your own body, and you don't see how bulky you've become, and you're always not good enough. You always need to do more. You always need to be better. You need to tweak that part of your diet. You need to train this muscle more. You need to work on this aspect more. You need to sleep more. You need to socialize less because you don't have time, because you need to work out so much. And just all of it to look a specific and a certain way that we are brought to believe those superstars, those actors, musicians, models can look like by exercising regularly to a normal amount, eating healthy and sleeping well. That's their entire secret. That's all they do. It's not difficult. That's what they tell us. Well, sometimes, occasionally, there's this one that maybe let slip that, for a year, that's all I did. I spent lots of money and time on training, because actually people that work a normal job in an office or in a shop or anywhere where you're not physically active, it's very difficult to stay as trained, as lean as those people, especially if you also have a social life. And even for those actors, it's very difficult to stay that way. I mean, bodybuilders, if they're not in season, as it's called, as in when they have to go on stage and show how muscular they are, even they gain fat again, which is normal. You're supposed to have fat on your body. It's healthy for you. It's how your hormones work. It's how your immune system works. It needs fat on your body. So getting rid of it, it kills you, literally. But yeah, and most bodybuilders, unless they are what's called natural, and I mean, I don't know, I can't prove it, but there is a lot of evidence out there, and other podcasters and YouTubers who have a lot more experience and know more, who go into those details about how these people achieve those physiques, and it is to a very high extent not possible for a normal person without using anabolics or any performance enhancing drugs, spending an incredible amount of time and money and energy on that. And even then, some bodies are just not meant to be as lean, and it's not healthy, and it fucks people up, excuse my language, in their mind, because they then, on the one hand, women only find that attractive because that's what they see, just like men only for a long period of time, and still lots of them only find a very specific type of women attractive because that's what the media feeds us. Now it's women that only find those men attractive because that's what the media feeds us, and both of them are unhappy because they don't fulfill the other person's criteria, and it's just insane. It's insane, and it fucks people up. For a long period of my life, I've heard, and I still do. I mean, I'm not over it. I'm not better. I just trying to be more logical about it and try to be more conscious about the fact that it's all bullshit. I've had super insecure about my body, as I've also mentioned in other episodes. So it's really fucking us over that we have all these people tell us that's how we're supposed to look like, when that's not actually how we're supposed to look like. Yeah, it's really fucking people up to make this a bit more brief. Because, as I've said earlier, 30% of men have admitted to feeling insecure about their body. 1 in 5 have said that they dressed in a certain way in order for their body to look a certain way, to hide something that they feel insecure about or that they think is unattractive. 1 in 10 have admitted to having had suicidal thoughts about the way they look like, because they don't fulfill the societal norms of what a male physique, a male body is supposed to look like. And it's a source of frustration when even if you look that way, you still are not accepted, because on the one hand you find you never look good enough, and on the other hand maybe also the other people think you never look good enough, because there is always someone that looks better. There's always at least someone. If you have the best actor on screen, there might be someone standing right next to him that looks even better, and so on and so forth. So it's a continuous struggle to fulfill someone's beauty standard that they'll never meet, and that may even not agree with them. But it's just, it's exhausting. On the one hand, there's lots of men that struggle with exercising so much in order to bulk up, to become muscly, in a way that is unhealthy, to fulfill this beauty standard. But on the other hand, there's also now more and more men that have eating disorders. There is, the numbers are that at least a third of men, of people that struggle with an eating disorder are men, but lots of experts agree that that number is probably underreported because not many men seek out help. Not many men admit to that something they struggle with. And what's worse is that men that suffer from an eating disorder are much more likely to die from it because of the shame and the stigma that stops them from getting help. They avoid seeking help due to the stigma and develop, be it binge eating disorders or avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. And then there's a big delay before they seek help, if they seek any help at all, because they feel so ashamed. And because that is a feminine disease, they're just being weak and they should just get a grip on themselves. Which is just terrible that we tell people that, anyone. And in the LGBTQ community, the numbers are even higher, where 40% of men within that group report to having an eating disorder. Now, there's, on the one hand, societal pressure that leads to these issues, to bulkorexia or muscle dysphoria or muscle dysmorphia. But of course, that's not all there is to it. There's also childhood trauma. There's bullying about the physique, which of course the bullying is fed by societal standards that make bullies believe that that's something they can pick on. There's peer pressure among teenagers, teenage boys, to look a certain way. There is a tendency that we judge people by what they look like. And something else that leads to it is, especially in the Western world, it's a bit of a dichotomy. We struggle due to our mental health. Some people struggle with their body image, be it in the way that they exercise so much in order to look a certain way, or that food becomes a comfort, or that there's not enough motivation to do exercise. I'll talk more about that in the last episode. So there is a lot of people that are overweight. And there's lots of ad campaigns because certain regions of being overweight can have quite a bad impact on your physical and mental health, which isn't to say that everyone that's overweight has bad mental or physical health. Check up with your doctor and how you feel. But because there is quite a few people that do struggle with weight, that have medical conditions, there's ad campaigns and awareness campaigns that help people to lose weight. But if you're struggling with your body image, those messages can send you down a severe and bad spiral. And whilst they might be well-meaning, they can actually have the opposite effect. And we've seen similar things during the COVID pandemic, where people were urged to get the vaccine, get the jab. And there was lots of ads about people having a needle in their arm and being, immunized, and to get people to, hey, it's not bad, it's just a needle, it's all good. But people that have, anxiety about needles or about getting a jab or any pricking things with their skin, they were triggered a lot doing that, and it did not make them go get the vaccine, or it didn't help or encourage them to do that. It made just the fear more visceral, more real, more tangible. So sometimes trying to do something good can backfire if it's not thought all the way through. And of course, we are all humans and we can only do our best. But it is sometimes good to think about how can this have a negative impact before starting or rolling out an ad campaign. Another area the body image and the pressure on men has an impact on is medical procedures or plastic surgery, there is a severe increase in procedures on men. There's lots of liposuction where the fat is being removed by sucking it literally from the body. There's facelifts. There's to get rid of wrinkles because men also struggle with looking older. There's procedures that help with hair loss, which I admit I also thought about because I feel I don't feel great about not having hair. I mean, I accept it most of the time, and I can also see that it looks okay without hair, but I also miss my hair because I just liked having hair. I say that too much maybe, but so I did look into it, but there's no way I can afford that. So there that goes. There's male breast reductions because men boobs are also not seen as attractive. Nose surgery, eye surgery, all of that has increased a lot, and something that men struggle with because there's a increase in visibility due to the accessibility of porn is their penis sizes. And lots of men have admitted to feeling insecure and inadequate when it comes to their penis size, because obviously in porn you see lots of big dicks. They don't tend to have short dicks on there, which is on the one hand to do because we're told big dick is the one that you want, but on the other hand sometimes I've read it's also just because of the angles. If you need to get a camera and they need more leverage, so you don't actually need a big dick for the sex to be good. I've been told. So yes, it is something that we're doing to ourselves. It is something where if we just accepted our bodies as beautiful as they are, all of us, men, women, LGBTQ, anyone, just you're beautiful the way you are, and there's not just one look that is the one that needs to be, then that would be great. But unfortunately, it's not as easy as just saying that. We can't just change our body image or what we perceive as beautiful overnight, especially not when we are being continuously shown images and videos of people that look a very specific or certain way that we don't. But there is things we can do to help. There is blocking certain images or certain content on social media so we don't constantly see people that look a certain way. There is something that I found very, very helpful is to go to a public pool where you see lots of people in very different shapes and forms and sizes and ages, which has really helped me because there's lots of people that look great and awesome and don't fit that criteria, don't fit into that mold of the six-pack and the big muscles and the small waist for women and anything in between, but are just normal people that look great and awesome and are beautiful. But it also takes time. It's not like just because I went to the swimming pool a few times, I now feel great about my body all the time. There's still times when I feel down, but it helps being aware of the fact that what we are told is beautiful or is attractive isn't necessarily what we find attractive. And being determined by someone else's beauty standards can have a very big pressure and lots of negative effects on us. And something that can help is being mindful and just being kind to yourself and to your body and talking to your body in a way, I love you. You are making me. You are part of me. I'm part of you. I mean, my body is me. I'm my body. And I can tell my body, hey, you're beautiful the way you are. I love you. You make me. And to make a pact with myself to be respectful to me and not to be dismissive or to be self-deprecating to my body and how it looks and how it feels. And it can help to just do things with your body that bring you joy. Do exercises that are fun, dancing wild in the kitchen, or doing funny walks. If that's something you enjoy, doing sports that you enjoy, that make you feel good in your body. And to be aware and to think critically about the messages we are being sent by the media, by other people. And to be mindful about how you talk about other people's bodies and other people's looks. It is so incredibly hurtful to a person to be told they are disgusting. There is nothing disgusting about another person's body. You may not find that attractive. That is perfectly fine. Not everyone needs to find everyone and everything attractive. Nobody's going to argue with you on that one. But to tell someone that they are disgusting because they have hair in certain areas where they shouldn't have, or they don't have hair in certain areas where they should have, or they have more fat in areas where you don't, or where people are told not to have more fat, or to have less fat where they should have, or to have more moles where other people don't have them, or to have less, or to have teeth that are crooked or straight or white or yellow. I mean, of course there's an aspect of hygiene. That's a different story, but bodies aren't disgusting. No way. Nothing about a body is disgusting. Not at all. You may not find it attractive, and that's fine. If it's a body shape, form, or whatever you're not usually confronted with, then of course it's normal to be a bit nervous, but that doesn't make that body disgusting. That just means, hey, maybe interact with it more. Not interact with the body without consent or anything, that's not what I'm saying, but surround yourself with people that look different and be aware that they're also beautiful and their bodies are just their bodies and nothing more or less than that. Sorry. It's a topic dear to my heart because when I was a teenager, I heard a lot of comments about me being disgusting because I had hair where I shouldn't have had it. Still have it there, but the last few years nobody's told me I'm disgusting because of it, which is nice. Or also not just because of hair, but also just my shape. I've been told to be disgusting. So it's difficult for most of us with our bodies. There's very few people who look in the mirror and say, yes, and mean it. Some people do, and because they, talk themselves up, and that's great. If that doesn't mean that you then push yourself on other people, don't do that. That's not good. That's bad. Stop doing that. It's difficult. It's a difficult topic. And please, Hollywood, just stop. Also, what those actors and actresses go through just to look that way, it's just ridiculous. Just, pay them less and let them be more normal. That's fine. Don't push them towards where they look extreme and have to go through extreme training sessions just to look that way. And then you have to pay them so much because they have to do that much. Nah, it's all right. Give us a chubby superhero. We're fine. We can deal with it. It's cool. And if you feel bad about your body, it's, we have had these images for a long time. So it doesn't overnight become something that we can easily, shake off. It takes time. And something that can help with that is to talk about it. With your friends, with your family, with your loved ones, or if you don't want to talk to any of them or don't have any of those, you can always talk to me. You can share your story with me, or in a way that I can share it anonymously with other people on the podcast, or you can come on the podcast and talk to me about how you feel and what's going on with you. You can reach me on the website men-tell health.com. I would love to hear from you also in the comments of YouTube, or you can email me tim-tell-health.com. Reach me on Instagram, MenTell Health _podcast, YouTube, MenTell Health Podcast. I'd love to hear from you. I would be super grateful if you could rate this podcast, leave a comment, leave a review, share with your friends, family, or who you think you can, who would benefit from this. Or if you hate it, share with someone that you hate, so they hate it too. As always, I hear and I see you, and I hope you hear and or see me again next week. Goodbye.